This is session 3, part 1. I would like to pick up where we have left from session number 2. Let me share my screen. If you remember, this was one of the last slides we spoke of. There is a huge section on math and statistics, a huge section on computer science and information technology, and a huge section on domains expertise and domains knowledge. A data scientist is supposed to have some knowledge of math and statistics in a practical, applied way, to be able to code and communicate with the computer. As I said, coding is actually quite a very small part of the computer science. And then the data scientist needs to actually have the proper question and mindset, starting from the domains of the under the microscope. So that's what we want to do. And the first main topic that I would like to cover is coming from the science part, the scientific exploration. That's what we want to do. Now, what is it defined? The exploration is defined as the action of traveling in or through an unfamiliar area in order to learn about it through analysis of a subject or theme. So that's what the exploration is. Let's see how you did it in the past. Obviously, one of the early examples I mentioned was that when you were in your mother's womb, what happened was that you were able to identify peace and security with your mother's heartbeat. And when you were born, that actually gave you basically the peace whenever you got close to your mother's chest, right? But keep in mind, so that's one example. This is coming from the audio signal. We do have a visual signal. We talked about the vision improving as a number of days and weeks and months come and go. And then you eventually identify not only the face of your parents, but also the emotions embedded in the face. Are they indifferent? Are they happy? Are they angry? And so on. Now, as we said, the entire domain is the entire task we are trying to achieve in the complex domain of data science program is that we want to replace the human brain partially or in full by a computer. The eyes, the same information is going to be collected visually from the ears. You are going to have the signals coming in. You have a speech, you can have a feedback, you can analyze your own speech or others' speech for that matter. And there are all of these are supposed to have the components that we have spoken of, and that is the science, the math, and the computer science. Now, when we are born, one of the early tests that is done is that actually the doctor uses auditory equipments to see whether we have the proper hearing basically abilities. And if there is something that is not right, the doctor is going to alert us and say further test is needed, or perhaps some sort of rehabilitation has to be taken in place. Why is that? Because generally speaking, for human beings to be on the planet for so many years, thousands of years, and obviously the population growing in the past centuries, and the population is even growing faster in the past few decades, more and more information confirm the fact that babies who are healthy, when they come to life, they basically exit the mother's womb, and they are supposed to have the proper hearing. It's supposed to be a healthy hearing, right? And auditory system is supposed to be functioning properly. And if it is not functioning properly, then everybody is going to have a question mark. Is that because the baby is late in development of the auditory signal? Is it right now something wrong with the auditory signal? It's not that the baby is not healthy, but there is a question mark and a red alert. that we have to take care of this, and we have to do further tests, and we have to examine what could be wrong and potentially take steps to remedy that. Make sense? Now, there are many other things that you need to keep in mind. For example, when you were in your mother's womb, doctors would put equipments on your mother's tummy to actually hear your heartbeats. And the heartbeats basically are going to be monitored, and they are going to actually identify right from where you are in your mother's womb, but using ultrasound, using the sound that it is, to see whether everything is all right while you're in your mother's womb. You come outside, and what happens, they still monitor you to make sure that everything is fine. What is it? What are they trying to do? They are actually observing. They have a question that they want to see, to find an answer. Are you healthy or you're not? And we would like to see that, of course, everybody would like to see that you are a healthy individual as you come to life and move on in stages of growth. One of the examples we spoke of, and this example is very nice to keep in mind throughout many sessions that we are going to continue, and that is walking. It is extremely important for the parents to know that you are capable of basically growing and standing properly and walking and taking care of your balance. And if there's something wrong, then the question would be, where is it? Is it in the brain that is not able to process? Is it perhaps part of the ears, as you saw the last time, that could potentially contribute to your balance? Is it your legs, the skeleton, and everything else all right? So the first thing is that, are you going to walk or not? And if you are walking, then everybody is happy. If you're not walking, further test is needed. It doesn't mean that the baby is incapable of walking. Some of the babies are actually old in development. But what is the norm? I need you to get used to this question. What is the norm? The norm, after monitoring so many babies, and we have about 8 billion people on the planet Earth right now, is that babies' heartbeats are supposed to be healthy. Babies' auditory system are supposed to be functioning properly. Babies are supposed to stand and walk in a time frame, perhaps up to 1 year, supposed to stand and walk. This is an observation. Parents watch you as you start to walk, and at the same time, if anything is wrong, further test is needed. So that's the beginning of basically scientific exploration. When you go, obviously this monitoring can even happen while you're actually a child, a teenager, and it could go on and on and on as long as it is needed. So basically you may have to be monitored, and even those who are healthy, they need to actually have an annual checkup to see if everything is all right or not, right? So the entire idea is we are going to observe. We are going to have a norm in front of us. We call it golden rule. And if anything is not fitting the golden rule, then there is going to be a red alert, and we need to take action. And those actions are simply, they could be as simple as further test. It doesn't mean anything drastic. It simply means another environment, another set of basically parameters that we have to consider, and continue that until we find the primary cause of any anomalies that you might feel in your heartbeats. Okay. If you take a look at this, for example, this example, this is a setup. This is a scientific setup. What is the input? What is the output? The input obviously is the signal generated in the mother's womb, and the output is going to be seen on the computer screen, on some of the monitors, and we are going to, and the physicians is going to actually take a look at that using his or her basically visual inspections of the signals, and they are going to make a judgment. In every scientific exploration and every scientific setup, you need to have a few variables. Those variables are very important in order for us to move ahead. We need to understand which variable is the input and which variable is the output. Which variable is independent and which variable is dependent. What is controlled in this process? So as soon as you ask a question, you need to first, after, during, before, doesn't matter. You need to ask the question, what are the variables I am going to consider in my observation? Here could be signals, 1D signals. It could be potentially, basically in terms of walking, it could be a lot more than just a simple signal of calling of your baby and asking your baby to come toward your arms. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a lot more complex, but you need to consider all of these variables in order to make a judgment. And that's why further tests is needed, because you may disregard some of the variables initially for the sake of simplicity and low cost of the test. But at some point, if it is necessary, you need to bring in more expensive equipments and start asking basically different, tougher questions. Stay tuned. We may move to the part 2.